John here from NoJokeNHL, here with our daily recap report. This is Monday, May 6th. And as always, we'll have our preview video for tonight's games coming up at 3 o'clock Eastern. And then during the week, like I said, we'll be doing these recap reports in the morning, somewhere around the neighborhood of 10:30, 11 Eastern. And then, like I said, we'll have the daily preview coming up at 3:30. So let's get right to the games yesterday. We had 4 games on the card. Entertaining day. 2 of the games went overtime, the first 2 games. And the second 2 were not quite as close. But let's start with game number 1. It was started at 12 noon Eastern on NBC, and we had the Pittsburgh Penguins winning in overtime 5-4 over the New York Islanders. And the Islanders, feeding off the home crowd frenzy, jumped out to an early 2-0 lead in this game, only to have Pittsburgh storm back and score 3 first-period goals to take a lead at the end of 1 period. The key to Pittsburgh yesterday was power play conversions. They scored 3 of their 5 goals on power plays, including the game winner in overtime by Chris Kunitz, in which there was a lot of controversy whether Sidney Crosby took a dive to get that penalty or not. And I'm not going to judge one way or another. I mean, we certainly have seen Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins do stuff like this in the past. But the one thing that I've seen, with the exception of the ton of goal scoring, because neither one of these teams can really keep pucks out of the net, and we've been able to cash the over 5.5 in a lot of ways. Multiple over 1.5 first period, over team totals for Islanders, and over 5.5 for the game. And that's one thing that these teams can't seem to do, is stop pucks from going into the net. Marc-Andre Fleury, again, a pretty shaky game. Like I said, gives up 2 quick goals. I'm not even going to really say anything about those, but the last one, he gives up a shorty and then gives up one to Tavares to tie the game and send it into overtime. And like I said, Marc-Andre Fleury is definitely not the answer for the Pittsburgh Penguins if they plan on making a cup run. And we were tweeting back and forth yesterday. I don't see this team, after looking at their body of work in 3 games, even though they're up 2-1 in the series, I don't see this team going to the Stanley Cup Finals, let alone win it. And matter of fact, they're really up against it to come out of this round. I know they have a 2-1 lead in the series, but if you look at the way these games have gone, they've just been right there for the taking, with the exception of Game 1, where the Islanders couldn't get anything in the net. They still dominated the offense, almost 63 offensive chances in that Game 1 where they were shut out, and they still keep producing that same amount. So Pittsburgh certainly just can't play defense, and like I said, you couple that with a goalie like Marc-Andre Fleury, and it's not really a recipe for success in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So as we said, 5-4, Penguins win in overtime. Game 4 will be on Long Island coming up, and you certainly have to look at the New York Islanders as a live dog in this, and we certainly have to keep looking at the total depending on what number they put out on this game. But certainly, like I said, I really don't see a defensive stance coming anytime soon between these 2 teams. 3 o'clock Eastern game, we saw the Minnesota Wild beat the Chicago Blackhawks 3-2 in overtime, in a game that probably wasn't as close as the score indicated. Corey Crawford has been doing a solid job. I don't want to say outstanding, because he's been very, very solid. They were outshot yesterday by Minnesota, 37-27. The Blackhawks were, and Minnesota just basically came out in desperation mode, as they had to, and playing in front of the home crowd, they were able to generate they were able to come back and tie the game in the first period on Chicago, and then take a 2-1 lead, only to have Duncan Keith tie that up at 17-14 in the third period. And then Minnesota, with Zucker's goal in overtime, takes it against Crawford. But you really can't fault a Crawford who gives up 3 goals on 37 shots. Pretty much Chicago had to generate more offensive chances, single-digit in shooting in every period, although they did outshoot the Wild 2-1 in overtime. But all these goals are even strength, and like I said, maybe Chicago just got bowled over a little bit by the urgency of Minnesota, but I definitely don't see the Hawks laying back and allowing Minnesota to take another game in this series. Like I said, 4-1 makes sense if they can win this Game 4 and come back and have Game 5 on home ice. This is still playing right into Chicago's hands. Like I said, you really can't make a huge argument for the Wild here. They're not really dominating anything. Like I said, they just got the result on the scoreboard that they were looking for yesterday. Moving on to the evening's games. In the first game, we had the Ottawa Senators thumping the Montreal Canadiens 6-1 in an ugly game in which we saw 53 total penalties called and 236 penalty minutes in this game. And ironically, the 2 power play goals scored in this game were in the first period before all that nonsense started to go on. Basically, your culprit, or GOAT, if you will, is Carey Price. And if I went back and I looked at the all 3 of these game stats, Carey Price now in the third period alone of these games is now have given up 8 goals on 30 shots. That's just the third period. Every one of these games has been close going into the third period. Canadians had a 3-1 lead in Game 2 that they held on, no scoring in the third. In Game 1, it was 2-1 Ottawa going into the third period, and Ottawa pulled it out 4-2. Yesterday, 2-1, same score going into the third period, and Carey Price just melts down and gives up 5 even-strength goals to the Ottawa Senators. So I'm not sure what the answer is here. Basically, like I said, it was just nothing but ugly scrapping and things like that going on in the third period. Gloves littered everywhere. Basically old-time playoff hockey, if you will, or actually more like preseason hockey, because usually in the playoffs people are a little more disciplined than that unless they feel things getting out of hand. And so you have to look at the Montreal Canadiens' actions and probably think that, yes, they feel that things are getting out of hand. And I would certainly agree. Like I said, we have Carey Price basically just melting down. I'm not sure if they go with Peter Budaj or in this next game, but they're going to have to come up with something to slow down this Ottawa team. And if this Ottawa team comes out of here, unless the Rangers take the Capitals, we're going to be looking at maybe Ottawa facing the Pittsburgh Penguins in the next round. And we have that little revenge factor with Karlsson on the Penguins as well. So that could be an intriguing matchup. Like I said, these Ottawa Senators, kind of a junkyard dog mentality. Like I said, being hurt all year. They were sitting in a nice place before injuries ravaged the team. They were able to hold serve and come back into the playoffs and have all their players back. Erik Karlsson still skating long amounts of time, almost 28 minutes on the ice, or actually a little over 28 minutes on the ice yesterday. So he's certainly all the way back from his injury. And of course, Anderson has just been outstanding in this series, holding the Canadiens to a total of 6 goals for the whole series in 3 games. So an average of 2 for him, whereas Price has given up 4, 1, and 6. So 11 goals for Carey Price in 3 games. So definitely you see where the problem is there for Canadian fans. The final game last night, and didn't disappoint. We were on this one on the money line and also had -1.5 as well. And this was a relatively easy winner as well. And again, the third period, we come out 2-1 in the third period, and Corey Schneider, 3 goals allowed on 5 shots, and then they pull they pull Schneider and put Luongo back in, which really, like I said, Schneider did melt down in the third, but really they were just getting thumped all night long. They were being outshot 38-30 for the game, but it really wasn't that close as, like I said, in the second and third period, Sharks able to outshoot them 10-8 in the second, 15-8 in the third, and it really wasn't as close as the final score indicated, as the Sharks were up 5-1 in a hurry with 2 quick goals on Schneider and then getting a third one. Like I said, when you put 15 shots on goal in the third period to Vancouver's 8. So the Canucks pretty much all but done here in the series. So kudos to people who have Sharks futures and or plays on this series. That definitely looks like a foregone conclusion. Canucks in the same situation last year, able to get 1 off the Kings in that first round. I'm not really sure the pride's even there for them to do that. Both Sedins taking cheap shots. Henrik Sedin, butt end of a stick on a high stick call, and then later on in the game, in front of the net, comes in with a flying elbow to the head of one of the Sharks. So basically, this Vancouver team just completely, lost all composure, lost all really will to fight. Todd Fuhrman tweets out, even the Tin Man thinks this team doesn't have any heart, and I have to wholeheartedly agree. So the Sharks, like I said, really take it to them. Really balanced effort. It was center night for San Jose, as all the centers involved in great offensive output. Pavelski, 2 goals, 1 assist. Patrick Marleau, 1 goal. Joe Thornton, 2 assists. Logan Couture, 2 goals. 2 goals and 2 assists for 4 points total. So the centers for San Jose, all 4 of them having an outstanding night. And like I said, Vancouver really has no answer here. And so I look for this series to end either in the very next game in San Jose, which is highly likely, or sooner than that. But I really don't see the Vancouver Canucks coming back with any type of playoff worth noting. All right, so that brings us to the end of the recap for the games that happened Sunday. And like I said, we'll be back at 3:30 Eastern with tonight's preview for 4 games we have on the card. The Caps Rangers getting back, Boston Toronto also getting back, Detroit Anaheim, and St. Louis and LA. So we should have an entertaining night of hockey coming up. And as always, let's drop the puck and let's make some money.